接下来论坛进入到了专题演讲，让我们一起来邀请日本未来地球秘书处全球中心的春日文子主任来为我们做专题演讲。Next, let us welcome the Global Hub Director of Japan Future Earth, Dr. Fumiko Kasuga, to deliver the keynote speech of the forum.
你好。Good morning, everyone, and it is my really great honor and pleasure to be here, invited by our Tsuchi Foundation, and I would like to express my sincere gratitude also on behalf of Japanese citizens for receiving very quick and generous, great support at our major disasters from Tsuchi Foundation. Thank you very much. Today, I would like to talk about the role of science and the responsibility of science, wishing to be common language and tools for safety and well-being of human life. But at the same time, I would like to draw your attention to the shadow side of the science and technology as well, and try to discuss and think together with you how to overcome. Well, science and technology have been contributing to the reduction and prevention of disasters through various kinds of observations on the physical science aspects of the Earth and social and humanity, social sciences and humanity sides into the human society to understand the current natural and human systems, and also by risk assessment by using those observation data and information, and by prediction and providing early detection and warning mechanisms, and also by risk communication with the society. To be honest, I'm not the pure expert of disaster risk or risk reduction compared to other experts who will give talk later today, but and therefore these examples are not comprehensive, but only a tip of the iceberg of the scientific and technological efforts. But this is this map here is the daily alerting system provided by Japanese Meteorological Agency, based on every prefecture. What kind of alert or advice are present now, and based on the various kinds of Earth observations, including from the satellite, and the this is just 10 days ago, just after the typhoon. The latest typhoon has passed through Japan. And in addition to those observations, our scientists and technological experts are making daily efforts to develop new tools for better detection and warning systems. This is an example that to detect the cause of tsunami by observing the infrasound on the surface ocean. And so far, we have developed quite effective earthquake early warning systems. And this is based on the difference between two types of waves of the earthquake. The P wave goes faster than the major shake by S wave, as you know. And based on where you are, there is a difference of 1 second or 5 seconds or 10 seconds between two types of the waves. And please imagine what action you can take to protect yourself within 5 seconds. You can do many things. If you have 10 seconds, you have more things to do. But even 1 second, it's quite different by hit suddenly, by big shape. But if you are aware that something comes in a second, you can be protected. And this system is being used in many social aspects. So at the time of the 2011 East Japan earthquake, there are many bullet trains running at high speed in the area, but with this system, they could stop. And nobody was injured by the bullet train accident. There is no accident. Local governments is making additional efforts. This is an example of Tokyo Metropolitan Government. They are releasing booklet to every household, also in English and other languages, and how to prepare and how to protect yourself to major natural disasters. And the scientists as a whole are making additional efforts also to contribute to UN level conferences. So before the World Conference on Disaster Risk Reduction, so-called Sendai Conference in March 2015, the scientists got together in Tokyo 2 months before to prepare the holistic inputs from scientific community to deliver to Sendai Conference. And now in Japan, nearly 60 scientific associations based on different expertise have built Japan Academic Network for Disaster Risk Reduction. And they are providing a common platform for information and giving scientific knowledge and immediate tools at the time of major disasters. So, of course, it's too small to read, but if you go to the website, you can identify what kind of diverse and various expertise are helping each other to be useful to the society. However, we cannot completely stop the natural disaster. It's caused by our Earth natural mechanisms, and every time we suffer from very big damage and victims. So again, in 2011, Great East Japan earthquake hit in eastern part of Japan, and as you know well, tsunami has caused so huge damage and victims. And again, we Japanese never forget the very quick and generous support provided by Taiwanese people and especially by Tzu Chi Foundation. 5 years later, then the west part of Japan was hit by unusual big earthquakes. Scale 7 earthquake hit twice in 2 days. It was beyond the imagination of science. So the famous castle was destroyed, and now it's still under construction. And as you can see, the major part of the old castle was lifted as a whole and be now reconstructed. And 2 years later, just last year, the northern part, Hokkaido, was hit again by big earthquake. At that time, large-scale and multi-scale landslides hit the community, and as you can see, there are many local communities hit by and affected by landslides. And of course, we cannot forget the major 9/1 earthquake 20 years ago here in Taiwan, and also the major typhoon 10 years ago. And regarding the climate-related disaster, we also are suffering from climate extremes. Last year, in July, west part of Japan received continuous heavy rain, as you can see, this area. You can see those clouds and heavy rains didn't move for the whole 2 days or more, and which resulted in this huge area, huge floodings. And just 10 days ago, compared to this time, it was very small in area, but very heavy rain and heavy wind affected Chiba Prefecture, just next to Tokyo, 1 hour drive from Tokyo, but we couldn't predict this happens again, but the Chiba Prefecture, it's still suffering electricity loss. For still after 10 days, the local government is releasing information also in English, like this. And as you can see, people has to look for the place to charge their mobile. There is no electricity. And we couldn't imagine that under the current era of our daily life, it's so hard to live without electricity. In Anthropocene era, environmental and societal changes are more rapid, complex, and interlinked each other. This is a very famous figure. So I think many of you have seen this. On the left hand, there are many factors are picked up, but amazingly, they have the similar shape of the rapid increase, such as population change, real GDP, or water use, land dam construction, or fertilizer consumption, paper production, urban population, international tourism. Many things are rapidly increased are within these 50 years. When we see the right hand in the environmental aspects, we can see pretty similar shape of the figures. Not only carbon dioxide concentration, but also other gases such as methane, nitrous oxide, are increasing, and the surface temperature, ocean acidification, and other factors such as tropical rainforest losses, they have the similar patterns. So obviously, they have affecting each other. There are other aspects of the observation of the planet. This is called planetary boundaries figure. The group of scientists have observed the range of the multiple elements of the globe, whether they are in the safe area, safe zone, or not. As you can see, there are still uncertain things, but as far as we can identify or we can understand, there are many elements which has stepped out of the safe zone. The red circle is not the safe zone. The blue line means the safe zone. So as you can see, there are yellow alerting area, and there are red, very dangerous area already. We have to take them back to within the blue zone, and we have to think how to live or how to develop our society within the boundaries. To do this, to think about this, we have to help each other to combine our knowledge. Scientists alone cannot do this. In addition, I would like to draw your attention how the human society and the environmental factors are interlinked each other. I have talked about the extreme weather and natural disasters like this. Then some people have to move from their regional community, or change the political policy or economic systems, which would cause additional change in the society. Sometimes the rapid urbanizations are observed, and poverty is still there, or sometimes still increasing. And as a result, some emergent diseases and re-emergent diseases are increasing, and biodiversities are lost, and due to the forest change or land use change, we're observing large-scale fires also in Amazon and boreal forest in northern area. Those are caused by natural cycles, but also affected heavily by human activities. And once some of the regions of the globe are affected, they are found to give influence to other regions of the world, such as Amazon rainforest, has a close relationship with the circulation of the water in the air and the ocean surface movement, and such as El Nino, and Greenland ice sheet mentioned by Professor Pachauli has a great impact to the ocean circulation as well, and it's linked to the Antarctic ice sheet melting. And although there is not clear link between others, with others, Asian monsoon climate is also affected. So in order to address these interlinked phenomena in the environment and also in the human society, not a single entity, not a single policymaker or scientist can address. We need to help each other, exchanging our knowledge. So within the scientific community, multiple expertise has to collaborate, and also beyond the scientific community, we have to collaborate with social stakeholders, social partners. And there are wisdoms in the society. There are experiences and practices in the society. Scientists have to learn from them and understand the new needs for new science. And there are several attempts already taking place, also in Earth observation area. These are the example of the multiple targeted Earth observation systems on land use in combination with various types of the satellite observations. This one is has advantage in observing in the night time, and this has the very high level of sensitivity, and this one has an advantage to observe through the clouds. And this is an example. And for the water circulation, there are various kinds of observation systems. They are now integrating the results. And not only by attempts from the single country, there are regional collaborations going on, such as Sentinel Asia. And this system is providing knowledge sharing and developing common platform for education and providing common early warning systems in Asia. Well, Future Earth, to which I'm working now, was created based on the similar concept and similar needs. Future Earth is a global research program for global sustainability. It has the global networks and wide coverage in science, but also is leading and supporting co-design efforts between scientific communities and stakeholders and partners in the society in order to encourage the knowledge and wisdom exchanges and the needs exchanges, as I mentioned before. The Future Earth Global Secretariat is distributed among 5 countries, including Japan, but has wide range of national networks, including Future Earth Taipei. And we're based on 20 major global research projects based on many expertise, such as carbon emission, biodiversity, air quality, marine water systems, and risk governance or modeling, even history. But in order to encourage more efficient interactions within the scientific community and with the society, we're now developing knowledge action networks based on these very simple keywords. For example, Health Knowledge Action Networks was launched this May hosted by Academia Sinica. Health Knowledge Action Networks is trying to focus on planetary health, not only human health, but as repeatedly mentioned this morning, we have to think about the comprehensive healthy status of the planet, including the geophysical aspects and plant health, animal health, and as a whole environmental health, including human beings. For emergent risk and disasters, we are currently focusing on climate-related emergent risk, but try to address the complex risk, cascade risk derived from or triggered from extreme climate, but are affecting human society. So systems approach are needed to address such complex disasters and risk. Sustainable consumption production covers whole range of life cycle from the material production and how we, the human beings, are consuming and how the resultant materials are distributed through the environment again. That kind of holistic system should be addressed in a new additional view of science. And we need societal wisdom again to address such systems. And for financial and economics knowledge action networks, we have just started direct conversation between Earth system scientists and financial sectors leaders. And then we could identify the completely, I would say completely, but quite different realities in 2 communities. Both communities are impressed by having direct contacts and by learning each other. And I recognize that the new additional research are really needed to address and to create new pathways of financial sectors to contribute more efficiently to global sustainability. So Future Earth is providing such new networking and connecting systems based on our scientific background. This is some of the recent example of the products. Of course, we are delivering scientific papers, and we're organizing international conferences. We're publishing books, and we're creating easy-to-understand video for example, at COP events. And of course, you're familiar with this honorable person, Professor Yuan-Tzu Lee. And I will talk about him later. As additional examples, we're releasing 10 key messages at the time, at the occasion of recent COPs. At COP 23 and 24, we have delivered this kind of 10 messages to be understood by policymakers and the global citizens. And we are now preparing the new messages for COP25 to be held this December. And in Japan, we're also working to make an easy message to the Japanese citizens. And exactly today, this afternoon, the message is handed over by the President of Science Council of Japan to the Ministry of Environment and to the citizens. So this is still secret in the coming maybe 3 hours, but I'm now disclosing to you, sharing with you. This is an urgent statement to promote the common sharing on the knowledge of climate change and from scientific community. It was discussed by Future Earth-related committee and subcommittees within Science Council of Japan. And the president of SCJ is now delivering this message. The 5 statements are climate change, which could pose a risk to human existence, is definitely happening. We must move forward quickly to strengthen international and domestic cooperation towards slowing down climate change. To slow down climate change, we need to integrate management of our basis for survival, including the atmosphere and water, energy, and food. Terrestrial and marine ecosystems are a prerequisite for maintaining the biosphere on Earth that include us humans. Protecting our ecosystems play an important role in slowing down climate change. We need a new economic and social system for future generations now. These are the major messages. Well, Professor Yuan-Tzu Lee, of course, all of you know him. He was the person who changed my life. Well, he visited Science Council of Japan when he was the president of ICSU, International Council for Science, to encourage Japanese scientific community to promote Future Earth initiatives. At that time, it was the planning stage, and almost no one from Asia or no one in Japan was involved in the preparatory stage. At that time, I was the vice president of Science Council of Japan in charge of international activities. So Professor Lee visited us and encouraged then president of Science Council of Japan and myself to start something to contribute to Future Earth. And since then, we had discussed with the scientific communities and relevant ministries and stakeholders, and then we are here. And Future Earth now is very active in Asia. So we have been hosting many national or regional workshops on various topics, including as I said before, Health Knowledge Action Network launch event, and Professor Candice Lang there was leading this event. This one and this one. We really appreciate great leadership and support and contributions from Futures Taipei to whole Futures activities. Well, apart from the very limited activities of the Future Earth, science communities as a whole has an ability or opportunity to contribute to many decision-making processes and implementation. It should start from the first stage of understanding and recognition of the current reality in order to setting visions and goals and targets, for example, of those of SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. Scientific evidence can help understand the current status and changing global systems and reality and their complexity. And then scientific evidence can support dialogue for developing scenarios and options and sometimes roadmap to develop decision scenarios and options. And among them, there should be democratic and open conversation with the citizens and stakeholders and the decision makers. And implementation should be supported by, again, many scientific and technological achievements. But the achievements should be monitored and evaluated again by scientific evidence. So people tend to expect scientific communities or technological communities to develop some ideal dream-wise tools to solve any urgent problems, but it's not the case. Of course, there are many advanced technologies such as used by risk reduction, but also we need to provide more integrated and systematic support to these decision-making cycles. And this was regarded and emphasized in various global settings. For example, these group of organizations called Alliance for Global Commons have developed these three major pillars of the scientific evidence and to be used. And the first part is called Earth Commission, to collect, assess, and deliver the scientific available knowledge will be announced very soon, and Futures is asked to support this Earth Commission at the Secretariat. Well, as I mentioned first, I would like to address some shadow side of science and technology. One is the man-made disasters. As you know, again, after the great East Japan earthquake, Fukushima nuclear power plant had released a large amount of the nuclearity, and we, the scientific community as a whole, has been addressing this issue with the collaboration with international scientific community. So the Science Council of Japan has held several major international conferences, also by inviting Professor Lee. We are still working to help Fukushima Prefecture and the citizens. Another aspect to be considered is a dual-use aspect of science and technology. Any kind of science should be aware of mal-use, unintentional or intentional bad use of science. Not only by country-based conflict, wars, but also now many kind of terrorists can create advanced technology-based weapons. And it has been discussed at the biological and toxin weapons conventions, such as here. And we, Science Council of Japan, corresponded to that convention scheme by hosting a symposium and developing statement and book series to address the code of conduct for science to improve our attitude at the individual scientists' levels and organizational levels of the scientific communities, and also institutional levels of the research institutions or universities. And now the Ministry of Education and Culture and Sports and Technology and Science in Japan, MEX, is providing revised code of conducts for all the scientific programs. So this is my conclusion. Science can play a role in diplomacy as common languages, even under conflict situations, like arts and sports, and can be tools for safety and well-being of human life. However, we, the scientists, has to recognize the responsibility of science, and scientists and ethics should always be aware of. And I would like to thank you again for inviting me to this very valuable and important opportunity, and would like to thank the organizers and volunteers to help us. Thank you very much. 谢谢.
Thank you, Dr. Fumiko Kasuga, especially for disclosing such urgent and not yet public statement from the Science Council of Japan, once again proving the importance of the mission of this forum. 感恩春日文子博士的分享，特别呢是跟我们分享了日本学术会议最新上会公告的联合发言，也再反映了我们共同的使命。如果科学跟科技是我们共同的语言，那我想慈悲是我们共行的道路。If science and technology is the common language for well-being of humanity, then I think compassion is our common ground. That's what brought all of us together.